Hey guys, welcome to Southern Gal True Crime. Hope everybody is doing well this afternoon on your Sunday. Hope everybody is having some good weather, spending time with some family. The weather here today is good in Arkansas, 80 degrees in the end of February, but that's normal Arkansas weather. Welcome everybody who'll come into chat, everybody who's watching on replay. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for either dropping in and joining the live or watching the replay. This is Southern Gal True Crime. I am Dawn. I cover missing persons, cold cases, some current true crime in the news, and more. Anything I find come across true crime related that I find interesting and hope that you guys would find interesting. I like to share with you. But my main focus on this channel is missing persons and cold cases. And the cases that I cover are usually the lesser known cases, not getting national attention. There are a lot of cases out there that don't get national attention or even local attention that they need, that they deserve to bring awareness. So that is what I share on this channel. So I'll get my shameless plugging out of the way while I'm waiting for some more people to pop in. So if you think that is your cup of tea, please consider subscribing if you haven't already. Like, share, comment. All those things help small channels like mine get this very important information about these missing persons and cold cases out to as many people as possible. You can also find me on Facebook. I have a Facebook group and a Facebook page, so do check that out. If you have any questions, comments, you can email me, or you can pop a comment in any of my videos or live streams. If you have a case that is dear to your heart, maybe you knew the victim, it happened in your home city, hometown, home state, and if you feel that it's not getting enough attention, or it could be anywhere, any case that you know of that you think needs more attention, email me the details, the victim's name, the state that it is from, any information you may have, and I will do my research. And I will do my best to find everything I can about the case and do either a video featured as my case of the week or included in my Missing Person Monday. So send me that information. That is what I'm here for. So today I thought we would, after all the dark, not so good news that has been coming out lately, I thought today I came across an article the other day about a lot of cold cases that were solved in 2023. So I thought, well, we'd take a look at that today to kind of bring a little bit of good news about cases being solved and offenders being arrested and charged. To kind of, like I said, there's been a lot of not so good stories lately, especially this last week. We've had the Audrey Cunningham case. Now we're keeping an eye on the Elijah Vu case. One good thing this week that did come out was Adam Montgomery was found guilty on all charges for the killing of his daughter Harmony Montgomery. So that is one good thing that has happened. So let's hope that we can have some more once these because an alleged offender suspect has been arrested in the Audrey Cunningham case. So let's hope that if he is the offender, right now he's innocent until proven guilty, but if he is the offender, hopefully that situation can be dealt with accordingly. So let's see who we got. Hello. Oh, let me go take my banner down. Maybe I did take it down. Okay. Welcome, Michigan Wifey. Always good to have you here. Michigan Wifey is one of my OGs, as I call her. She's been here since the beginning. She says, I was just watching the replay from last night. Thank you very much. Yeah, I just want to go over, like I said, some of this news that has been coming out this last week and a half. Some very troubling, disturbing things happening. Like I said, hopefully they will get those resolved. Hello, Shauna. Shauna is here. Good afternoon to you, too, my dear. Good to have you here. It's good to have everybody here. Anybody who will pop in and watch the replay. I always like having my regulars here, and anybody new that happens to come across the channel and drops in. I'm always grateful for that. So, I think I'm caught up in comments. As of right now, my second self is behaving, so hopefully I will be able to control things through my computer. It's a lot easier to do it that way. We will start with our, let me make this full screen so I can read it. Oh, there's some wrong buttons here. This is, because anybody that's new here or watching replay, on all my videos and live streams, I always feature a current missing person. So today's featured missing person is Hector Comacho, and my banner is still up there. Hold on, guys. Let me try to get rid of it. There we go. Okay, it's out of the way. This is Hector Comacho. He went missing on February 14th of this year, 2024, from Springdale, Arkansas. He's just 17 years old, white male, 5'10", 140 pounds. And once again, I forgot to adjust my phone so it won't go dark on me. But anyway, brown hair, brown eyes. So if you have any information about Hector, his possible whereabouts, if you're in the Arkansas area, please contact the Springdale Police Department at 479-751-4542. Yes, Shauna says baby Skylar's mom has been found and arrested. Yes, I was reading that. I'm very glad to hear that. And I think in the live last night, I found another article where she, previous to this, or maybe had to be after this. Because this was in 2005, if I remember correctly. Anybody who doesn't know about this case, very quickly, in 2005, I believe it was, and anybody here can correct me if I'm wrong on the year. A trigger warning for a minute here. A deceased newborn baby was found in the Phoenix airport. They did, of course, they had no idea, because I think it said 100,000 people per day at that time, and probably more nowadays, went through the Phoenix airport. So they didn't have a lot of information, but through DNA and some genetic genealogy, they managed to recently find the mother of what they called baby Skylar. she was arrested. And then I found another article that I was reading from last night that after that, there was a person who she was employed with that, and her name was Annie Anderson, but that was not her real name. It was an alias, the mother that was arrested. But apparently, she had been stealing from some employer. Just you can go check out the live stream from last night. I put all the links from the articles that I used. You can read that article about everything that she got up to. Excuse me. After baby Skylar was born, and apparently she didn't want her, and decided to leave her in an airport bathroom. So yes, thank you, Shauna, for that. So today, like I said, we're going to be talking about. I came across this article about, I think there's 14 or 15 cases, and we'll go through them as quickly as possible so this won't turn into a 3-hour live stream. About some cold cases that have been solved in 2023, and some of them were solved with DNA, some of them were solved with confessions, some with I think genetic genealogy. So like I said earlier, I just wanted to kind of bring some good news about some cases that have been solved after all the madness and craziness and sadness that's been happening these last few weeks. So the first case we're going to talk about, and hopefully my computer will cooperate with me so I can read, is the case of Sonia Carmen Herrick Stone. So you can see the headline there: man convicted in 1981 cold case homicide of woman. And definite trigger warning on all these cases. Try not to be too graphic, but some disturbing details in a lot of these. So man convicted in 1981 cold case homicide of woman strangled to death with her own pantyhose. I'll keep my screen from going dark on me. And all this article came from the ID Network website, investigationdiscovery.com, and I will put a link to it if I haven't already. I can't remember if I did beforehand, but I will put a link to it in the description box. So more than 40 years after the homicide of 30-year-old Sonia Carmen Herrick Stone, DNA from under her fingernail led to the conviction of Michael Scott Glazebrook. Sonia Carmen Herrick Stone was only 30 years old when her life was taken in her home in Monterey County, California. She was strangled with her own pantyhose on October 15th, 1981, according to People magazine. At the time of her death, she was a single mother living with her 4-year-old daughter, and she was working for Levi Strauss and Company. So all these cases are horrible, but when it includes young children that lose their mother at a young age, or it doesn't matter what age a child is. If you're 2 years old, 20 years old, 50 years old, losing a parent, always traumatic. So it just breaks my heart even more when we have these cases where children are involved. So the Monterey County Sheriff's Office reported that detectives worked on the case at the time and identified a Michael Scott Glazebrook as a key suspect. Then, 25 years old, Glazebrook was Sonia's neighbor. He was charged and went to trial in 1983. However, in that trial, there was a hung jury, and the district attorney's office opted not to retry him for homicide at that time. But in late 2020, the case was reopened, and Deputy District Attorney Matt LaRue worked with the detectives at the Monterey County Sheriff's Office to re-examine all the evidence in the case. They deduced that some of the evidence could be tested with DNA technology that had not been developed at the time the first trial took place with the hung jury. So detectives got a warrant for Glazebrook's DNA, and they discovered that he was still living and working in Monterey County. They then sent his DNA and evidence from the crime scene to the Department of Justice's DNA lab for testing. So in October of 2021, detectives learned that evidence from Sonia's homicide was a match to Glazebrook's DNA profile. They arrested him later that month at his residence in Seaside, California. Um, and in honor of Sonia, all the detectives wore Levi's jeans for the arrest. Because earlier said that she, at the time of her homicide, she worked for the Levi Strauss Company. And then finally, on February 6th of 2023, over 41 years after the homicide, Michael Scott Glazebrook was convicted of first-degree homicide with enhancements for using a deadly weapon and for committing SA. Glazebrook, now 67, was found guilty of Sonia's murder after an 8-day trial. And Sasha Stone, who was the victim's daughter, who was 4 years old at the time, told KSBW, Sonia was a wonderful woman and we're so happy to see justice for her. She also added, it has been a day that we've been waiting for a really long time. So that is our first happy ending for a cold case after 41 years. It was solved. Always good to have these solved cases. All right, so next we will go to, my articles lined out here. To DNA from a cigarette helped solve the homicide of a Vermont woman after 5 decades, so 52 years. Police identified the man who viciously took the life of a 24-year-old school teacher in the summer of 1971. Sorry, my computer is being slow. Welcome to anybody who is popping in and out. Welcome to everybody who's watching replay. Just decided to do this live stream at the last minute because I had the house to myself and I was bored. So, and I had come across this article and about these solved cold cases. And it just always fascinates me how all these 30, 40, 50-year-old cold cases are often solved with DNA, genetic genealogy, some with confessions. So, once again, my computer is being slow. Waiting for it to load. I apologize. How's everybody's weather out there? There it goes. Okay. So, DNA from a cigarette helped solve the homicide of a Vermont woman after 5 decades. Is that the one I just read? No. So this is Rita Curran. More than sorry, the ads are popping up and my page is jumping. More than 5 decades after Rita Curran, a 24-year-old school teacher, her life was taken in her Burlington, Vermont apartment. Authorities have determined who took her life. Curran was strangled in her apartment in July of 1971. And despite a thorough investigation, authorities wouldn't solve the murder for nearly 52 years. Now investigators are, quote, unanimously certain that they have identified her the offender based on DNA evidence taken from her clothing and a cigarette butt near her body. This was reported by CNN. William DeRuse, who was 31 at the time, was Curran's upstairs neighbor, and he allegedly strangled her after he had a fight with his wife. Curran's roommate, who was not home at the time of the homicide, returned to their apartment in the early morning hours of July 20th, 1971, and she discovered the victim's body in their shared bedroom. You just could not imagine returning home and finding any friend or loved one of mine and deceased. Horrible. There was a 70-minute window where DeRuse had left his apartment after an argument with his wife of 2 weeks. So this guy, this offender, had only been married for 2 weeks. According to the Burlington Police investigation report, when he went for a walk to, quote, cool down, he had the opportunity to take Miss Curran's life. After the homicide, DeRuse returned to his apartment, telling his new wife to not tell police that he had ever left the apartment that night, and she complied with his wishes. When the police interviewed the couple shortly after the homicide, they said that they had been together all night, and they both said that they did not see or hear anything. In 2019, this case was reopened, and a team of detectives and expert technicians reviewed and discussed the case. During this time, detectives interviewed DeRuse's former wife again, and this is according to NPR, and she now admitted that he had left the apartment for that window of time of when the homicide occurred, when Miss Curran's roommate was not home. So I'm wondering if maybe the wife, it doesn't say if the wife was still with him or if they were divorced, or maybe just over time, maybe guilt. The guilt was gnawing at her, and she thankfully came forward to say that she had not told the truth back when they were investigating about him being home the whole time. So God bless her for that. The team retested evidence as part of the investigation, and they decided to analyze the DNA on the cigarette by utilizing genetic genealogy, a process that identifies potential family members of an unidentified suspect. Detectives found a living half-brother of DeRuse who provided a DNA sample, and investigators were then able to conclude that the DNA from the cigarette found by Miss Curran's body did belong to DeRuse. They also identified his DNA on the victim's ripped housecoat. So not only was it found on the cigarette that they found, they did find it on an article of her clothing. Although Curran's parents unfortunately passed away without getting justice for their daughter, her brother and sister were able to attend the news conference where her offender was identified. Her brother, Tom, said, "I don't think so much about the guy who did this as I do about Rita, my parents, and what they went through. I pray to Rita and I pray to my parents." And it says that the offender, DeRuse, passed away of a substance overdose in 1986. So police unfortunately, cannot prosecute him, but they say that the case is now closed. So even though the offender was passed away, at least they were able to find out who the offender was and get some answers about who took their loved one. Who else has popped in? Yes, Michigan Wifey says DNA is amazing. Yes, DNA. I'm so fascinated by DNA and how it can be used to help solve these cold cases, help find these offenders, help identify victims of foul play in these cold cases, and how far it's come from like back 30, 40, 50 years ago, like these cold cases we're talking about today. Once again, my cat's running amok. So if you hear anything in the background, I apologize. It's just amazes me that how far the oh, I didn't mean to take that down. Hold on. There we go. Put you back up. How far the DNA technology has come from back in 30, 40, 50 years ago to what they can do today. It's just amazes me. Hello, Dandy Linus. Hey, Dandy. Good to have you here. Says hello, ladies. Always good to have Dandy here. It's always good to have everybody here. Everybody who's I see people are popping in and out. Some more people are coming in. So welcome, welcome, lurkers. Everybody is welcome here. You don't have to say anything, but if you want to say hi, let us know who you are. That's perfectly fine too. All right. So I think I'm caught up on everybody that's popped in. So next we will be talking about Carol Sue Klaber. Now, some of these, when I was reading through these cases in this article, some of them I'd heard of, and a lot of them haven't heard of. So anybody here in chat or in replay, you can leave a comment. If any of these cases that pop up, you have heard about them, please let me know. So let me, hopefully my computer's still cooperating with me. May take it a minute to get loaded. I don't think that's the one I want. Do that one. There it is. Make sure I'm on the right article. So like I said, it says cold case homicide of Kentucky teenager solved almost 5 decades later. So another 50-year case. 16-year-old Carol Sue Klaber was found in a roadside ditch on June 5th, 1976. Her homicide went unsolved until March of 2023, when authorities announced they used, once again, genetic genealogy to finally identify her offender. So the information, almost 50 years after the body of a Kentucky teenager was found in the ditch, authorities have finally identified the offender. Carol Sue Klaber was last seen as she left her parents' home on June 4th, 1976. The 16-year-old dropped off her bike and then got into a car driven by a man. Apparently, don't know if she knew this man or not. It does not say in the information provided. The vehicle was described as a Pontiac Grand Prix or a Chevy Monte Carlo. The next day, on June 5th, her body was found in a roadside ditch in Walton, Kentucky. The dentist who came across the body reported it to authorities, and the Kentucky State Police immediately started their investigation. It was soon determined that Sue had been SA'd and then her life had been taken. Her COD was blunt force trauma, and there was also evidence of strangulation. So Carol Sue's homicide unfortunately became a cold case over the years, but in March of 2023, the Boone County Sheriff's Office announced that they had finally determined who the offender was. About a week earlier, they had informed Carol Sue's family that they had identified Thomas W. Dunaway, who at the time of the homicide had been 19 years old. At the time of Carol Sue's homicide, Dunaway lived in the same Park Hills neighborhood where Carol Sue's parents lived. It says it took a lot of years and hard work to solve the homicide. The Boone County Sheriff's Office cold case unit was established in 2017. They took on Carol Sue's investigation that year. Cold case detectives Coy Cox and Tim Adams soon realized that the suspect's DNA was collected at the crime scene back then, and police had retrieved two fingerprints from the suspect. And as the investigation continued, detectives Cox and Adams developed two suspects, but they were later ruled out with forensic testing. Thanks once again to forensic genetic genealogy, detectives were able to positively identify the suspect in Carol Sue's homicide as Thomas W. Dunaway. He apparently did not change over the years. He had developed a violent and quite prolific criminal history, they said, before he passed away in 1990 when he was 33 years old. Dunaway's DNA will be entered into CODIS for comparison to other crimes. So apparently they think he may, with his violent and what they call violent and quite prolific criminal history, that he could be, unfortunately, possibly connected to some other homicides, other crimes. Thomas Claber, who was Carol Sue's brother, struggled with the fact that Dunaway was deceased and therefore will not face formal charges. He says, I wish I'd known in 1990. And what do you say after all this time? Mr. Claber told the New York Times, I had some rather unchristian plans for him, as he says. It's understandable. I don't, of course, promote vigilante justice, but any brother who has a sister or vice versa, sister, anybody who has a family member that has been taken by violent crime, some things go through your head. So instead, Mr. Claber has to grapple with what justice means now. He was comforted by the fact that it was Dunaway who was exhumed for his DNA to solve the case rather than his sister. He said, there's a little bit of justice. You're going to disturb somebody's remains, dig him up. I agree with that. Carol Sue Claber is remembered as a teenager who loved music, according to the New York Times. She loved her guitar. She played the violin. And CBS News reported that her family has found closure since the police solved her case. So another good ending, or as good as can be ending for this case. Uh-oh. Out on the prowl. Dave is here. Boy, you're up early, Dave, or have you not been to bed yet? It's good to have you here. Dave, I had a live last night that lasted till about midnight, and then I immediately went over and Dave was starting his live, so I attended his live. Very good information. He talked about the Durman case, this POS that took the lives of his three young children. Was it, Dave? Three, and maybe injured another one, and I think injured his wife at the time. Horrible case. And Dave is always good at prowling around and finding these stories, breaking news stories, and then he also covered, of course, the ones that are in the news. So definitely go check out on the Prowl. You can find his link along with all my the other links on the homepage of my channel. Scroll down to where it says visit our friends below, and you'll find everybody's link there. Or if Dandy's still here, or Dave, you can do it. You have a wrench. I know he doesn't like to. You can put your channel in. Are you laughing at me because I said you were awake? Oh yeah, that's the wrong one. But yeah, the vampire is awake. Yep. I can relate. I'm a night person. I've always been a night person. So I'm hoping that I can find a job with a evening shift. But then again, the older I get, I don't like to be out after dark. Because for one, my eyes are so bad now, I can't see to drive in the dark with all the lights coming at me. Yes, they've said 3 beautiful kids in the Durman case. That another horrible. without going off on a tangent and getting off topic, but that's okay. We can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. All my live streams are loose and formal. Um, so we can talk about anything that comes up. Yeah, I just, all these parents, I mean, it's bad enough you have to worry about, stranger danger, other people hurting your kids, or when you have parents or guardians who hurt their own children. It's like an epidemic, a horrible epidemic. I just hate it. Another OG is here, Fritzy Garage from Poland. Thank you for being here. Fritzy is another, as I call, OG. They've been here along with Michigan Wifey, from the beginning. And before I even started doing lives, they would always like my videos, comment on them, all that good stuff. Oh, you're most welcome, Dave. I love you, Dave. I'm telling you guys, if you can't stay up to watch his lives, definitely watch the replays. He always has very good information, very good insight, very good guy, sharp guy. He does it for all the right reasons. I only associate with good people, so Dave is good people. So welcome everybody that's here. I think I'm caught up in comments. So Dave, it's very good to have you here during the day. It surprised me when I saw that you were here. I'm like, oh my God, Dave is awake. The sun is shining and Dave is up. I always give Dave a hard time. Okay, so next we have, gosh, let me, as always, my computer is slow, so I want to make sure that all my articles are coming up. So NYPD detective identifies suspect in cold case homicide of pregnant woman who passed away in front of one of her other children. Oh, I should probably have my disturbing content banner up. Let me go ahead and put it up. There it is. Because I don't think I'm reading, so it won't block anything that needs to be. Because most of these cases do have disturbing details. I try not to be too graphic, but so this is. Oh, let me get to the right. Still loading. Says justice is at least on its way to being served. Bronx homicide detective Robert Klein says of this 1996 case. Once again, waiting for my computer to load. Hope everybody's hanging out with me. Bear with me. Anyone who watches me on a regular basis knows I always have technical difficulties because I go through my cell phone Wi-Fi hotspot to record and to stream, and it's not always the fastest service in the world. Let me try it again. So this is Jasmine Jazzy Porter that you see here on the screen. While I once again try to get it story to load. There it goes. So a pregnant New York woman was found strangled to death, and it would take investigators over 25 years to identify and arrest the man that they believe was the offender. On February 5th, 1996, Jasmine Jazzy Porter, 36, was assaulted and her life was taken in her Bronx apartment while her then 5-year-old son, Jeremy, was present. I mean, what kind of monster in the first place would kill a woman, or excuse me, take the life of a woman, much less take the life of a pregnant woman, much less do it in front of her 5-year-old son? Telling you, there's a special place in hell for people like this. The victim's sister, Shauna Porter White, said, my nephew was left with her body for 3 days. Cannot imagine. This poor little baby, 5-year-old baby, was left with his mother's deceased body for 3 days. Sorry, my screen is jumping with the ads popping up. So, the victim's sister went on to say, Jeremy, who is now 32, was raised by his grandparents following his mother's death. Detectives were unable to identify a suspect in the case at the time, and the case went cold. But in late 2020, NYPD Detective Robert Klein received a call from a Bronx prosecutor who heard jailhouse chatter about Porter's case, and this was reported by the New York Times. This call prompted Klein to begin searching old case files, and he discovered there were untested fingernail clippings and scrapings collected a quarter century, 25 years ago. And despite the passage of so much time, he was able to track down the forensic evidence from the ME. He sent it to DNA databases. And in August of 2022, the Bronx Homicide Squad announced that they had identified and arrested a suspect in the Miss Porter's homicide. And this suspect was Gregory Fleetwood. According to the New York Times, Fleetwood, now 66, was a convicted offender sent to prison on a first-degree manslaughter charge in 1987. So this was not the first, at least two that we know of, maybe more. In that case, Fleetwood admitted that he strangled and then took the life of 25-year-old Linda Miller after he claimed that they did substances together. And like Porter, oh my gosh, like the victim we're talking about, the other victim was also pregnant when this POS took her life. So we have at least two that we know of that this Gregory Fleetwood took the lives of two women who were pregnant at the time. Now, please, you guys in chat, let me know your thoughts. But in my opinion, this Fleetwood character, high possibility that he could have been a serial offender who had something against pregnant women, or just women in general. And these two that we know of just happened to be pregnant at the time that he took their lives. Unbelievable. Fleetwood served 7 years in prison, and he was paroled in August of 1994. How, once again, we won't get into the legal, because how was he paroled? But anyway, and this was just 18 months before police say that he offended again in this case. The suspect now faces a second-degree homicide charge in connection with Miss Porter's death, and the case is still pending, according to the New York Times. For families like the Porters, this case was never cold, Klein said after Fleetwood's arrest. Every birthday, every holiday, every anniversary of her passing, every milestone with her son, it was never cold. He says, I can't think of anything that's more gratifying than taking a case that's sort of lying dormant for so long. The veteran homicide investigator added, justice is at least on its way to being served. It's sort of the pinnacle of my police career. Absolutely. Wow. This one, two women, allegedly, since as of this article that came out in April of 2023. The articles come out in last year, 2023, so very recently. So this alleged offender has most likely taken the lives of at least two women who were pregnant at the time. So that's why I say I would go out on a limb and say it's in my opinion, a possibility that this was a serial offender. And I'm sure the detectives and everybody that worked on these two cases um, at least took a look at some other cases that might have occurred in the same area around the same time to see if they were connected. Very, very scary stuff. Sorry, I'm drinking a lot today, but I think it's this weather that is keeping my sinuses and everything all messed up. We 40 degrees one day. Today, yesterday it was in the 60s. Today it's in the 80s. Wonderful Arkansas weather. And then I think starting Tuesday into Wednesday, they're talking about very bad storms with possible tornadoes. But it is starting in March, April, May is what they call our, here in Arkansas, Dixie Alley, Arkansas, in this southeast region. This is our tornado season, foul weather. It is foul weather, but severe weather season. But anyway, all right. So next we have Sarah Yarborough, and I think I haven't done a deep dive into this one, but this name sounded familiar. Let me go out right quick and make sure that my laptop is not frozen up, and then I haven't missed any comments. So, full screen. Oh, Lord. I got to get me some money to buy me some better equipment to use. There we go. Okay. So this is Sarah Yarborough. And it's her face. It says justice finally served. Get it loading. It's going to take forever. Justice finally served for Washington teen who was her life was brutally taken in 1991. Over 3 decades after Sarah Yarborough was her life was taken on her way to meet her high school jewel team. Her offender was finally convicted. So we do have a conviction in this one. So on December 14th, 1991, 16-year-old honor student Sarah Yarborough drove herself to Federal High School to attend a drill team event. She never made it to the event, and her body was found by 2 boys in the woods. Once again, my screen is jumping. Her body was found by 2 boys in the woods outside the high school later that same day. The Seattle Times reported that approximately an hour before her life was taken, Yarborough had rushed out of her home in her drill team uniform with her hair in a ponytail. She was found later that day wearing only her skirt and sweater. Her nylons had been wrapped around her neck, which nylons are pantyhose for anybody that doesn't know. They were wrapped around her neck and apparently used as the weapon, and she had been strangled to death. Although investigators worked hard to solve Sarah's homicide, the case eventually went cold before DNA technology helped detectives solve it, reported People magazine. Police investigators had gone through countless tips and had considered other suspects before DNA from semen left at the scene led police to the offender. In 2019, genealogists working on the case used, once again, genetic genealogy to zero in on 2 brothers as suspects. One of the brothers was ruled out because his DNA was already in CODIS and it wasn't a match to the evident DNA found at the scene. The second brother, Patrick Nicholas, had served time in prison for an attempted SA from 1983, but his DNA, for whatever reason, had never been entered into CODIS. I don't understand that, but it happens, I guess. After surveilling Nicholas, investigators collected once again a cigarette butt that he had tossed on the ground, and they were able to match DNA from the cigarette to the DNA found on Yarborough's clothes. After evading justice for over 3 decades, Patrick Nicholas was arrested and later found guilty in the homicide of Sarah. Sorry, I lost my place. On May 10th, 2023, a jury in King County, Washington, where the homicide took place, found Nicholas guilty of first and second degree with SA motivation. Nicholas, now 59, he was 27 at the time of the homicide, according to the Federal Way Mirror. He had kept a copy of a 1994 newspaper that featured an article about Sarah. And he had a photo of Sarah in his kitchen drawer, which was found when he was arrested. So evidently he wanted to keep, I guess that would be considered trophies from his crime. And once again, I'm wondering in this one if, how old did I say he was at the time that this happened? I don't know if it said. He was 27 at the time. So another one, in my opinion, possibly Sarah may not have been his first or only one. It's just my opinion. Because, like I say, at 27 years old, you don't just wake up at 27 and say, excuse me, and say, hey, I'm going to go out and assault and take the life of a young girl. That's just my opinion. Please, in the chat or in replay, let me know, as always, what you guys think. Sarah's family and friends still mourn the loss of her, but they are grateful that justice was finally served. Mary Beth Tome, a childhood friend of Sarah, said, quote, nothing will bring Sarah back, but this is as much justice as we can all expect after so many years, and we're really grateful the verdict was what it was. She went on to tell KOMO News she loved art, talking about Sarah. She loved art. She loved to dance. What would she have become in those years that were taken from her? Absolutely. She says, I think she would have been a beautiful person. I think it is really sad that the world did not get to see who she would have become. And the offender's sentencing hearing is scheduled for May 2025. And I don't know if that was May of last year, 2023, or May of this year. So, yeah, like I said, in my opinion, of course, this awful tragedy, obviously, at least the offender was found and arrested, charged, convicted, or, well, he's been charged. I have to go research this one to see if the trial has taken place. But yeah, another one, once again, just in my opinion, maybe not his first victim, unfortunately. All right, next we have, let me go to my, on the right article. Suspect arrested in connection with a 1987 cold case homicide of Missouri woman. Police say solving the cold case is a, quote, shining example of the importance of never giving up and pursuing justice relentlessly. Absolutely. So this is Carla Jane Delcourt that you see on the slide here. The 35-year-old mystery of who took the life of a woman and dumped her body in a wooded area in Missouri has been solved after a man recently pleaded guilty to involuntary manslaughter, authorities said. At the end of June 1987, Carla Jane Delcourt, 22, was found deceased in Franklin County. A cord was bound her neck and her wrist. An investigation determined Delcourt likely was strangled at a home in Union several days earlier. So, obviously, where they found her was a dump site. Kirby R. King, now 68, was initially named a person of interest and questioned, but police never were able to charge him or anyone else with this crime. Apparently, they didn't. It's not what you know, it's what you can prove. So apparently, they didn't have enough evidence or probable cause to arrest at that time. In 2018, investigators with the Franklin County Sheriff's Office reopened the cold case and re-interviewed several key witnesses in multiple states. So we have multiple states. In December of 2019, King was living in Texas when investigators identified him as the main suspect in Delcourt's death. They placed him under arrest for second-degree homicide. Law enforcement officials did not disclose what evidence led them to charge him in the then 32-year-old case. According to the Post-Dispatch, King became acquainted with the victim through mutual friends. On June 2nd, King pleaded guilty to the lesser charge of involuntary man as well as a felonious restraint. And Franklin County Sheriff Steve Pelton says the dedication, perseverance, and exceptional investigative skills have brought justice to a crime committed 35 years ago. The tireless efforts in unraveling the truth and meticulously piecing together the puzzle have not only provided closure to the victim's family, but have also made a significant impact on the community. The investigation, Pelton added, serves as a shining example of the importance of never giving up and the profound impact that can be made by pursuing justice relentlessly. Absolutely. And it says King, the offender, is scheduled to be sentenced on July 12th. So I'm assuming that was a July of 2023, because that's when this article came out. So another good ending. Another arrest made. If you guys have anything to say, you guys are being quiet today, but that's okay. Hopefully it's not because I'm boring you to death. Right, next we have Vicki Lynn Belk. Find her story. There's arrest made in, well, her story is loading. Arrest made in 44-year-old cold case homicide of Maryland woman. On August 27, 1979, Vicki Lynn Belk was abducted after leaving work at the Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C. Her body was found 2 days later, and she had been assaulted and GSW. Horrible. Right. So, when the summer of 1979 began, the future looked bright for Vicki Lynn Belk. The 28-year-old was thriving in her career as a management analyst for the Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C., and she had a 7-year-old son. Another one that we've got young children that lost their parent. Although young, she had already overcome and accomplished a lot. She had been a child of the civil rights era, who was the oldest of 6 children, reported the Washington Post. and she was among the first Black students who integrated into the Alexandria, Virginia school system. She did well and became the first person in her family to graduate from college. On August 27th, 1979, Vicki Lynn's life took a tragic turn when she was kidnapped while leaving work at the Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C. She was then assaulted, GSW. Her then boyfriend reported her missing the next day, and she never returned to her apartment, according to a press release from the Charles County Sheriff's Office. Then, on August 29th, 1979, her body was found by a teenager in a wooded area off Metropolitan Church Road in Charles County, Maryland, and her death was ruled a homicide. Despite extensive efforts from police investigators, Belt's case went cold over the years. However, in 2022, detectives began efforts to re-examine the case utilizing forensic technology that was not available more than 4 decades ago when the crime took place. They submitted DNA from trace amounts of semen found on her dress and slip. A profile was developed and entered into a CODIS. Police learned that there was a DNA match in November of 2022. When they got the DNA match that identified a man named Andre Taylor as the offender, they began a thorough investigation of him. They learned that Taylor had previous arrests for violent crimes in the D.C. area. They also learned from arrest records that in the 1980s, he lived on Bryan's Road at an address that was only 4 miles from where Miss Belt's body had been discovered. Taylor, who is now 62, according to the Charles County Sheriff's Office, was only 18 at the time of the crime. He was indicted on charges of first-degree homicide, first-degree SA, and second-degree SA related to his attack on Vicki Lynn Belt. He was arrested on June 27, 2023. He was extradited to Charles County, and he's being held without bond. Vicki Lynn Belt's family continues to honor her memory. They founded the Vicki Belt Scholarship Foundation in her honor. Many family members were present at the press conference announcing Taylor's arrest. Lamont Belt, Vicki's only child, who was 7 at the time of her passing, is now 51. He spoke at the press conference. According to the Washington Post, he said, quote, "I just thank God for allowing us to be alive to bear witness to this momentous occasion. Our community is a little bit safer today with this person behind bars." Absolutely. So at least her then 7-year-old son, when her life was taken, 51 now, and hopefully he's got the help that he needs to go through the grieving process for the loss of his mother. So another good ending to a horrible case. See, get caught up on comments. Oh, thank you. Michigan Wife says, definitely not boring us. I've been eating dinner and didn't want to talk with my mouth full. That's fine. You guys don't have to be obligated to comment unless you want to. Everybody's opinion and thoughts are welcome here. Just always be respectful. Hello, welcome James Jameson. Good to have you here. I know you from I believe Miss Frankie and maybe some other creators chats. Welcome, James. Always good to have you here. Everybody is welcome in James. Everybody's welcome here. Everybody love having people in here. Dandy says that she is prepping plants for transport to a gal gathering. Listening, awesome. As long as you're listening, as long as everybody's listening, that's good. Just to get this information out. Like I said today, I just wanted to do a stream about some happy endings as opposed to all these horrible endings lately, and all this madness that is going on currently with a lot of these cases. All right, so I've only been on here an hour. It's not bad. Now, I had read something about this. I'd planned to, I think, include this in one of my True Crime After Dark things, live streams that I was going to do just about random cases, but I happened to come across it included in this one. So, went ahead and included it. Once again, get it loading. So, quote, zombie hunters sentenced to DP for the homicides of 2 women in the 1990s. A man who referred to himself as the zombie hunter has been sentenced to DP for the separate homicides of 2 young women in the 1990s. All right. In the early 1990s, a teen girl and a young woman were both, their lives were taken while separately riding their bikes along the Arizona Canal in Phoenix, Arizona. On June 7th of 2023, their offender, Brian Patrick Miller, who is now 50, was sentenced to the DP after facing multiple charges for taking their lives. He was convicted in April of 2023 on 2 counts of first-degree attempted SA, and kidnapping. Miller was known around Phoenix for attending events dressed up as a character he called the, quote, zombie hunter, giving a bad name to zombies. Because I love zombie movies, zombie TV shows. I love The Walking Dead and all their spinoffs that they had. So this fella is given and I'm not making light of this case in any way, but this fella is given a bad name to zombies, or to zombie hunters. Sorry, it's ads are popping up and the screen is my computer screen is jumping. So this fella was he wore a distinct helmet, goggles, and a mask, and he would carry a big fake firearm and drive a modified police car with splattered fake blood, according to Arizona Central. So not so much the wearing of the goggles and all the other stuff, but driving around a police car splattered with the fake blood. Anybody here, who does that remind you of? One of our favorite creators, may possibly doing one of his recreations. Although I don't know why it would have involved a police car, but I could just see Mr. Steve driving around in a car in one of his creations, splattered with fake blood. But anyway, we love Mr. Steve. If you do not know Mr. Steve and Mrs. Steve, please check out True Crime Web. 2 of the best, very best. All right, so Miller managed to escape suspicion for decades. Don't know how. I mean, I don't know how common it would be for somebody to go around dressed in helmet, goggles, a mask, driving a modified police car with fake blood spattered on it. I don't know how that could not be deemed suspicious, but that's just me. Now, maybe around Halloween I could see that, but anyway, back to the story. Back in November of 1992, 21-year-old Angela Brasso disappeared while riding her bike along the Arizona Canal in the northern area of Phoenix. Less than a year later, in September of 1993, 17-year-old Melanie Burness also disappeared while riding her bike by the same canal. So once again, I'm sure Investigators have looked at other cases, but once again, in my opinion, this could be another fella that might have other victims, possibly. Police believe Miller knocked Brasso off of her bike, then stabbed her and forced her off the trail. Her nude body was later found on a bike trail. And I have the trigger warning banner up here, but she had been decapitated. So, according to Linda Brasso, who was Angela's mother, says with his actions on that night, he took my angel, he ripped my heart, and I will never ever be the same again. Absolutely horrifying. Heart, thoughts, prayers go out to all these family members. 10 months later, the body of teenager Melanie Burness was found in the same canal. Her mother had last seen the 17-year-old high school junior on the evening of September 21st, 1993, according to the Arizona Republic. The next day, a cyclist called for help after riding through a pool of blood near where Brasso's head had been found the previous year. So this is the same place the first victim had been. And so the next year, a bicyclist had inadvertently rode through a pool of blood in the same place where the year before the first victim's head had been found. And it says police followed drag marks to where Melanie's body had been dragged and dropped into the water, only to be stopped by some brush. Oh my God, guys, this is horrifying. Like Angela, Melanie was stabbed from behind. She had been SA'd, although Melanie had not been. Her bicycle was missing, and the cases had many similarities. They became known as, quote, the canal killings, but the cases went cold for years. In January 2015, authorities were able to link Miller to both homicides through DNA, and he was arrested. Now, a single dad who is working as an Amazon employee, he waived his right to a jury trial. He ultimately decided to plead not guilty by reason of insanity. Miller did not testify at the double homicide bench trial that started in October of 2022, and he was convicted for the homicides in April of 2023 before he was given the DP in June of 2023. When sentencing Miller to the DP, Maricopa County Superior Court Judge Suzanne Cohen spoke of the cruelty of the crimes. She reminded all of the victims, stating that the defendant did not just take their lives, he brutalized them, and he evaded capture for over 20 years. As reported to People, Brasso's mother, Linda, said, quote, the defendant stole my angel from the earth. Angela was my one and only. I will never be able to plan her wedding. I will never have grandchildren. With his actions on that night, he took my angel, he ripped my heart, and I will never, ever be the same. Burness's sister, Jill Canetta, said, according to KPHO TV, quote, words cannot begin to explain the level of excruciating pain we experience every single day since her passing. We live without her smile, her hugs, and her companionship, and we live without her love. Absolutely devastating to these families. So, you guys in chat, if anybody has any opinions about whether this offender could possibly have other victims. Once again, in my opinion, it is possible that this one has other ones. So I was wondering that too. Dave said a gal gathering, and Danny says a group of locals get together and swap stuff, potluck, wine the last weekend of the month. Absolutely, sounds like us down here in the South. We're always up for a good potluck. Doesn't matter when or where. Usually at church. We have our church potlucks, family potlucks, any kind of potlucks, food involved. So, and yes, Michigan Wifey says that sounds like fun. Absolutely. Good food, good conversation, good companionship. Yep, Danny said it is super fun. See, now you've made me, it's getting to be potluck season now that we're getting into hopefully, we'll get a little bit more springtime here in Arkansas than we usually do and without the storms. But unfortunately, this week it doesn't sound like that. But yeah, it's definitely potluck season. All right. So I had heard of this case. I had not researched it, deep dived it. Find the right article. Sorry, I had to get a drink. So DNA, get the story loading. DNA helped solve the homicide of 1984 cold case of Donna Macho. New Jersey teen Donna Macho was brutally attacked and her life was taken in 1984. Excuse me. And after nearly 3 decades, her offender was positively identified. Once again, through DNA. So, Donna Macho's. Get down. Sorry, my cat's running amok as usual. Donna Macho's 1994 homicide was finally solved after nearly 3 decades. DNA evidence was used to identify Nathaniel Harvey, formerly of East Windsor, New Jersey, as the teen's offender. Harvey passed away in Southwood State Prison in Bridgeton in 2020, according to a statement from the State of New Jersey's Office of Attorney General. On February 26, 1984, Donna, who was then only 19 years old, went missing from the East Windsor home that she lived. She shared with her parents and her sisters. Her heartbroken family never gave up searching for her, and her skeletal remains were found over 11 years later on April 2nd, 1995, in the woods in Cranberry, New Jersey. And it says that this was an area near a farm where Harvey, the offender, frequently worked during the time when Donna disappeared. And Donna, unfortunately, had to be identified using dental records. Donna mysteriously disappeared from the basement apartment in her family's home after she spent a night watching hours of television with her younger sister. When she was expected at work the next day, she never arrived. Nobody in the family heard any commotion the night that she disappeared. Her car was found near the time of her disappearance in a sewer plant that was near where her body was found and within walking distance of Harvey's residence. This, either I've read about this case or it reminds me of maybe, was it Ted Bundy, one of the Ted Bundy victims? They, or a possible Ted Bundy victim. I don't know if it was possible or confirmed. Ted Bundy victim that he had allegedly snuck into the basement window of one of his victims' homes and took her life and maybe took her out, or I'm thinking about a totally different. But this scenario sounds really unfamiliar to me. So any guys watching in chat or replay, if you know what I'm talking about or this sounds familiar, please let me know, or let me know if I'm completely off base and talking out of my arse. Okay, so Harvey, the offender, was arrested around the time of Donna's disappearance for the homicide of another woman and essaying multiple women. While committing his crimes, Harvey would typically go into unlocked homes and then assault young women and hold them captive, according to New Jersey's Office of Attorney General. This sounds so familiar. Maybe I have read more about it than I thought I did. Or it reminds me of, like I said, another case, maybe one of the Bundy victims. Time does not erase the quest for justice, and although this offender was imprisoned for another homicide and died in custody in 2020, it does not make this conclusion any less meaningful. I applaud the Central Regional Cold Case Task Force and the state police forensic scientists who were hopefully able to offer the slightest measure of consolation to the victim's family after all these years. Colonel Patrick J. Callahan, superintendent of the New Jersey State Police, stated in the press release. Donna Macho is remembered and honored lovingly by her family. Her sister, Julie Berger, who was only 14 at the time of Donna's disappearance, said that she had mixed feelings now. She was ultimately relieved that her sister's offender had finally been named, but remains tortured by wondering whether she could have possibly stopped the homicide. That is so sad to hear, because it said that she'd been watching TV. Donna had been watching TV with Julie, the younger sister. I'm assuming at some point Julie had went to bed or left Donna's room. There was no way that this child, Julie, her sister, could have prevented this. Any predator, in my opinion, just from my uneducated opinion, any predator who is going to come into home invasion, what we call it now, come into a residence, kidnap, assault, and take the life of a victim, they're going to do it no matter what. There's absolutely nothing that Adonna's sister could have done to prevent it. In fact, if depending on who or what this offender's, how brazen he was, if Julie, the sister, had still been in the room, if they had been in the room together, it's possible this offender might have taken both of them. So just breaks my heart when these family members just say, what if I could have stopped it? And there's absolutely no way that this could have been stopped. So Berger, the sister, Julie, was also bothered by the fact that Harvey is now deceased and cannot face the consequences of his actions. She told NJ Advance Media, quote, "I'm glad the case is closed and it was him, but I feel he got away with it." It's natural to feel that way. With the investigation closed, Julie, the sister, was finally able to receive her sister's remains and give her a proper burial. When she was picking up Donna's remains, a ladybug flew on her arm, and she felt like it was Donna reaching out to the family. That is beautiful. This makes me want to cry. All these cases will make me want to cry, even though the offenders have been found and or have been convicted or awaiting trial or whatever the case may be. Still so sad for all these family members. So, Michigan Wifey is asking Dandy if she's a plant person. I can definitely tell you just from what I know and have seen on Dandy's Discord, she is definitely a plant person. And Dave apparently is a plant person too. He says, "I love my plants." Definitely a plant person and an owl person. Yeah, Dandy says that she has a little over 200 houseplants. That is awesome. If I didn't have a brown thumb, I would have plants all over because both me and my mom both have brown thumbs. My grandmother, my mother's mom, my maternal grandmother, she could grow, she had a green thumb. She could grow anything, vegetable wise, plant wise, flower wise. She could take a stick and stick it in the ground and a whole garden would bloom around it. I mean, I used to think that she was magic when, there was always shrubbery and plants and flowers all around their house, my grandparents' house, which is right next door. My uncle lives there now, but there's always plants and flowers inside the house. Um, so yeah, I love anybody who can grow plants and keep them alive. I cannot. But yeah, Dandy and Dave, I'm with you. I love plants. I just can't grow them. I can grow them. I just can't keep them alive. So kudos to you guys who out there who can keep plants alive. All right. Don't even know how many cases we got left here. This one actually, I remember, you guys might remember this one too because it was reported not too long ago in the news about this former pastor who confessed to taking the life of this 8-year-old girl in 1975. So let me get her case loading. So former pastor charged after confessing to abducting and taking the life of an 8-year-old girl in 1975. Sorry, my screen keeps wanting to go dark on me because I forgot to adjust the settings where it would start going dark after a minute. I usually set it to 10 minutes, but anyway. So the 1975 disappearance and homicide of 8-year-old Gretchen Harrington remained a devastating mystery for her family and loved ones for nearly 5 decades, almost 50 years, until July of 2023, when an arrest was finally made. So it says, on what started as an ordinary morning on August 15th, 1975, 8-year-old Gretchen Harrington set out for a walk to the Trinity Chapel Christian Reformed Church in Broomall, Pennsylvania, where she was attending summer Bible camp. The church was just a short walk from her home, but she never arrived, according to the New York Times. Her disappearance devastated her family and community, and an extensive search started for the beloved little girl. However, around 2 months later, on October 14th, 1975, hold on a minute. Sorry, I got a little catch in my throat there for a minute. On October 14th, 1975, skeletal remains were discovered in nearby Ridley Creek State Park, and they turned out to be Gretchen's. Her death was determined to be a homicide, and the injuries were to the head. Unfortunately, despite a thorough investigation, her case went unsolved for decades. Then, on July 24th, 2023, the Delaware County District Attorney's Office announced that 83-year-old David Zanstra, a former pastor, had been arrested for taking the life of Gretchen. At the time of his arrest, he was living in Cobb County, Georgia. Zanstra admitted to kidnapping and taking the life of Gretchen. According to Fox 29 Philadelphia, he admitted that he saw Gretchen walking alone. He offered her a ride to church. After she got in her car, he drove her to a wooded area. He instructed her to disrobe, and when she refused to do so, he punched her in the head, causing her fatal injuries. And once again, this is for anyone religious or not. This is somebody that you would expect, a religious person, a pastor. your natural instinct, or a lot of people's natural instinct would be to say, this is a pastor. There's no way he could do anything like this. But unfortunately, we've seen in the past, it does happen. He told the police that he saw the little girl bleeding and thought that she was deceased. He covered her up and he abandoned her body, then fled the area where her remains were later found. Coward, in my opinion. Zanstra faces charges of first-degree homicide, second-degree homicide, third-degree homicide, criminal homicide, kidnapping of a minor, and possession of an instrument of crime. And he's being held without bail in jail in Cobb County, Georgia. District Attorney Jack Stolzheimer said at a press conference, quote, "We're going to bring him here to Delaware County. We're going to try him. We're going to convict him. And he is going to pass away in jail. Then he is going to have to find out what the God he professes to believe in holds for those who are this evil." Start over. Then he's going to find out what he professes to believe in holds for those who are this evil to our children. Absolutely. As a part of a statement released to the NCMEC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, the Harrington family shared, quote, "If you met Gretchen, you were instantly her friend. She exuded kindness to all and was sweet and gentle. Even now, when people share their memories of her, the first thing they talk about is how amazing she was and still is. At just 8 years old, she had a lifelong impact on those around her." Absolutely. Once again, we have a young, just 8 years old, a young life cut short. Who knows what this beautiful young lady could have gone on to become and to accomplish. Um, so I'm just reading comments, but yeah, another young life cut short way too soon. That is awesome. Danny says, "I love to propagate plants and give them away. Not everyone can afford them." Oh, I love that, Dandy. I knew I liked you for some reason. Very generous, yes. Unless you can, and I don't even know how much if you went to Wally World or any other places where you can buy seeds. Even the seeds are expensive nowadays, much less buying a plant that's already grown to take it and transplant it to the ground. It's so expensive. So bless you, Dandy, for giving away some plants and brightening some people's days. I love that. I love I love all you guys, all my people, our community, all you guys. Just make me smile and make me happy on a daily basis with what you guys do. I can't put it on screen, but Michigan Wappy says, "Holy shnikes," I'll say. That's a lot. I'm gonna tell my fiance that I definitely don't have a plant problem. My prize plant is my humongous gardenias. Oh, I love gardenias. I love all flowers. Excuse me, flowers and plants. But like I said, I just had to enjoy my grandmother's. I helped her with her plants and flowers, but yeah, Dandy says the gardenias smell fabulous. They do. But then Dandy says she off the one that she had. I'm sorry, Dandy. Yeah, getting back to business. Dandy says, "I can't imagine being brutalized like these women have been. It's terrifying." Absolutely. There's so many monsters out there, and you never know, and they could be hiding in plain sight. I watched, I think it was Mr. Steve's, nope, hold on. Mr. Steve's live that he did last night. I'm getting my I'm getting all my lives mixed up, but it's either him or somebody else. I think it was him. Talking about how I think he was referring to Delphi RA about how a lot of people are saying he doesn't look like somebody who could do this. He just looks like a normal everyday person. Well, wake up, people. A lot of these monsters look like normal everyday people. That is what is so scary. You cannot judge a book by its cover. You cannot look at someone and say, "Oh, they wouldn't do something like that." They don't look. I mean, what? Who's to even say what an offender or potential offender looks like? They could look like the boy next door, the person next door. They could look like, in my opinion, a monster like the knucklehead in the Audrey Cunningham case. I would definitely, in my opinion, I would definitely look at him and say. But then again, you can't really do that either, because some people who you might think look shady or who could do something like that could be the nicest person in the world. In all my years of working with the public, because years ago I did 10 years in food service, and I did 15 years in retail, and so I interacted with the public, and some people that I will look at and say, I don't know if I would trust that person. They would be the nicest person in the world. And then some that would come in, looking all with normal, I put that in quotes, were very rude, and had come to find out some of them through my law enforcement friends had been arrested for stuff. So you can't look at a person and say whether or not they um could be an offender or not be an offender. It's just, that's the scary part of it. We don't know. We don't know. Yep, Dandy says you just never know who possesses the devil inside. That reminds me of In Excess song, The Devil Inside. See, I can always, I don't know if Dave is still here, but I'm like a human jukebox. I can, no matter what we're talking about, and not to make light of it, but just, I can usually come up with a song or a song lyric to liken to anything that we are talking about. But yes, you're right, Dandy. You never know. Never know. All right. Oh, I do have some more. Bear with me. We're an hour and 37 in. It's not too bad. So, let me find this case, get it loading while, make sure I'm getting the right article. So, trucker charged in Kansas City cold case homicides. And police do believe there may be more victims to this offender. And I've been making comments about some of these others we were talking about, that, in my opinion, some of these other offenders that we've been talking about could possibly have more victims out there. So a 52-year-old man has been charged with 2 gruesome cold case homicides that have haunted Kansas City for decades. Once again, I'm waiting for my page to load. Oh, and I have to, okay, try again. Hopefully, let's see how many. Got 3 bars. I shouldn't be having any problems. Oh, come on, computer, don't poop out on me. How you guys doing out there? Yeah, Daddy says I've got a song for every situation. That sounds like me. I mean, I've either got a song lyric, or a movie quote that I could, for anything that's brought up, no matter what we're talking about. I can either quote a song lyric, or a movie quote. Oh, come on. There it is. It came up. Okay. So, get down to the information. Once again, it's ads are popping up everywhere. I'm going to have to whack an ad here in a minute. Instead of whack a troll, I'm going to have to whack an ad. Okay, so after nearly 3 decades, 2 1990s Kansas City cold cases have finally been solved. In September of 2023, the Wyandotte County District Attorney charged Gary Dion Davis Sr. with 2 counts of second degree in the brutal homicides of Pearl Davis, who was also known as, I'm going to butcher this, Samima Musawir. I apologize if I butchered that. And Christina King. Davis, who is now 52, worked as a long-haul truck driver at the time of the homicides. And I have a theory, and it's not just my theory, that a lot of serial, or I won't say a lot, but in my opinion, there are a lot of serial offenders out there. I sort of say truck drivers who are serial offenders, but serial offenders out there who are truck drivers, and that's how they get away with it for so long, because it crosses multiple states, and with the different jurisdictions who work these different cases in different states. It's a little bit better now with the information systems being linked together, but back in when I say this was in the 90s, it's just very hard when you have different jurisdictions working on different cases in different states, or even different counties or different towns in the same state. If they don't get together, or compare notes, look at other cases that might not be in their jurisdiction, it makes it hard to connect cases. But anyway, another long-winded explanation from me. So Davis worked as a long-haul truck driver at the time of the homicides. KCTV reported that detectives from the Kansas City Cold Cases Unit had recently taken a fresh look at the case and were able to match DNA evidence from both homicides to Davis's DNA profile. Christina King, who is the one on the left, I believe, on the slide, a 26-year-old woman, was allegedly beaten to death by Davis on Christmas Day in 1998. I'm so sorry. Her body was found behind an abandoned building at 27th Street and Sewell Avenue in Kansas City, according to Kansas City Star. Nearly 2 years earlier, the body of Pearl Davis, who is, I believe, the one on the right, who was 46 when her life was taken, was found in a vacant house on Lafayette Avenue in Northeast Kansas City. I'm so sorry. In Northeast Kansas City in November of 1996. And obviously both women had passed away by homicide. Authorities do not believe Davis knew either woman prior to the crimes. Afterwards, he went on, quote, he went on with his life as if nothing happened, according to Chief Carl Oakman of the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department. Davis had been previously questioned by the police when his DNA was initially matched with one of the homicides nearly 2 decades ago, but authorities were only now able to move forward with charges in both cases. Davis is currently being held, and this is 2023, being held on a $500,000 bond. If he is convicted of either crime, he could face a maximum of life in prison. The Kansas City, Kansas Police Department shared a post on Facebook, which revealed that investigators believe that Davis is tied to other unsolved female homicides in Kansas City or beyond. So if you have any information on Davis or any possible crimes, other crimes he might have been involved in, call the Kansas City, Kansas PD tip hotline at 816-474 TIPS, TIPS. So yeah, most definitely on this one, in my opinion, this is possible serial offender, and apparently even the police suspect possible serial offender because they are trying to link him or see if there are any other cases that he could have been involved in or they can connect him to. So I'm going to definitely keep an eye on this one too, or research it more. Yes, I've always been saying that. I know there's controversy about using DNA from these public databases, but and I don't know if this is specifically what Dandy's talking about with the statement, but according, in my opinion, but Dandy said with the DNA technology and ancestry being used for familial connections, I think a lot more cold cases will be solved. Absolutely. And going back to this, and this is just my opinion, but feel free, you guys watching now or replay, leave your opinion. I understand the right to privacy with the whole public submitting your DNA to these public databases, but they are public databases. Now, I don't know all the rules. Now, I do know that at one point a few years ago, my brother, my middle brother, did submit his DNA to one of the, I can't remember which one it was, to one of the public databases, and just to get, of course, we know basically what our ancestry is. On my dad's side is most definitely Irish, because when our it's either great great or great 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 grandparents came from Ireland, came through Ellis Island in New York. Our original last name, I was going to say it, but I don't want to, was definitely Irish, but they took the O off the front of it, and to make it seem a little bit more non-Irish, because at the time when the Irish were immigrating over to the United States during the potato famine, they were not looked at fondly, not accepted, as are unfortunately a lot of immigrants that come over. But yeah, he got the results back, and it was pretty much what we expected. I think it was 50-something% Irish for my dad's side, and then there was whatever it is for my mom's side. I think there's some German and Native American for my grandfather, my maternal grandfather, and European for my grandmother and my maternal grandmother. So yeah, it was basically what we expected it was, but we just kind of wanted to know the percentages. Yeah. Dave says, I can name that tune in. I remember that guy. Yeah, you can name that tune in like so many I won't say not chords, so many notes or whatever. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. See, I can do that, but my mind, just like I watch Jeopardy with my mom all the time. She loves Jeopardy. So we sit and watch it together. And I know the answers to the questions, or the questions to the answers, you know how Jeopardy works. I know the answers to the clues, but my mind doesn't work fast enough to make it come out of my mouth to be able to actually go on Jeopardy and be able to hit the button and answer, be the first to answer. It just drives me crazy. But my mom can sit there and just, I told her she needs to try out. My mom needs to try out for Jeopardy one of these days. And Dandy says, my dad and I used to play that game. Good times. Yes, it was an awesome game show. Yes. Thank you, Dave. Notes was what I was trying to think of. I was going to say chords, but notes. But being from, I was in the high school band. I played clarinet, and then I played piano for a while. I could not play clarinet or piano to save my life nowadays. My brothers definitely, and my youngest nephew, he is adopted, but they got all the musical talent in the family because my middle brother, he taught himself how to play guitar. He played saxophone in the band, high school band. He can still play saxophone. He can play bass. He can play keyboard. He can sing a little bit better than I can. My middle brother has taught himself how to play bass. He plays bass in the church, church band they have where they go to church. My youngest nephew, we always say he's got to have our family blood in him somewhere because he's so much like us. But he can sing like an angel, has the best voice. He taught himself how to play guitar. So yeah, music has always been and will be a part of our family's life. We love music. Music brings us together, brings any and all of us together. Do you play piano, Dave? Dave says my piano was my best friend. I said I took piano lessons for years when I was a preteen, and I took piano lessons. I could play decent, but like I said, these days I wouldn't be able to. And Dandy says I play the radio. No talent here. That's me. Now I sing my butt off. I can't sing good, but I'll sing in the car, listen to the radio, or if I'm here at the house and by myself, and I think nobody's listening except for my cat, who does look at me oddly when I'm singing. All right, I think I'm caught up in comments. I've lost count. I don't know where. Okay, we got another one. Whoa, I've got a lot of these on here. All right, but thank you guys for hanging in there with me. So this is Noelle Russo. Let me get her case going or loading. So over, oh, I forgot to take the comment down so we can read what I'm doing. There we go. Okay. So over 4 decades later, a man arrested for Sonoma woman's brutal homicide. On June 27th, 1983, 37-year-old Noelle Russo was beaten to death in Northern California. Just over 40 years later, authorities were finally able to make an arrest in the cold case. Article actually came up. So, make sure I didn't skip over anything. So Alfredo, I'm gonna do my best with this name. Alfredo Carretero Jr., one of the original suspects in a brutal 1983 homicide in Northern California, was arrested and charged with homicide on October 2nd, 2023, according to KRON. Over 40 years after allegedly beating a woman to death. Carretero Jr., who is now 65, was linked to the cold case by DNA and other carefully preserved evidence. On June 27th, 1983, Noelle Rousseau's naked body was found in an unincorporated area of Rohnert Park near Sonoma State University in California. She had been beaten to death. She was only 37 years old when, unfortunately, her life was taken. Noelle was a close friend, if not at the time, a best friend of my mom, and my mom's name was Laura Serbin, and this is according to Dominique Espinoza. She explained that her mom kept a picture of Noelle, the victim, until she passed away in 2019. And Serbin was also with Rousseau. So the mom of this daughter, Serbin, was also with Noelle on the night that she went missing. Interesting. The daughter says they kind of like to bar hop a little bit and just like anybody in the area have a little bit of fun. And that's what they were doing the night that she went missing. They split up. She said Noelle may have been talking to an ex-boyfriend, but she didn't think it was him that she went off with. But somehow they got separated at that night, and she could not get a hold of her the next day. And then they, of course, found her. And this is according to Dominique Espinoza, the daughter of the friend that Noelle was with. I got that straight. If you're following along, I think I got that straight. Espinoza shared that her mother had saved articles about this crime that reported how Rousseau never got on the bus home on the night that she was last seen, and her body was found more than 48 hours after she went missing. Despite a thorough investigation wherein police conducted numerous interviews and gathered much evidence, Rousseau's homicide became an unsolved cold case. However, it's one that investigators continue to work on through the years. Starting in 2010, investigators submitted several pieces of evidence in Rousseau's homicide to the Santa Clara County Crime Lab and the Serological Research Institute for DNA analysis. Thanks to thorough analysis and the preservation of evidence, Carretero Jr. was tied to the crime. It is not clear whether he knew the victim. He was arrested in Lakeside and booked into the Sonoma County Jail. He is now being held without bond. The Press Democrat reported that he is scheduled to return to court. This was on October 2023, where he is expected to enter a plea of guilty or not guilty. And he's being represented by the Sonoma County Public Defender's Office. So this investigation continues as of 2023. So if you have any information related to this case, please contact the Sonoma County Sheriff's Office at 707-565-2185. So that is the unfortunately sad case of Noelle Rousseau. But once again, in all these stories, somebody has at least been arrested. A lot of them have been convicted. A lot of them, unfortunately, are deceased and didn't get to get justice meted out to them. But at least the family have answers on who took the lives of their loved ones. Most definitely. Dave says, my piano was always there when I am in need of comfort. I agree. Along with, of course, I'm lucky enough to have family support for anything that I might have troubling me or anything I need to talk about. But I'm not a big talker. I keep everything in for the most part. I just don't want to, some things I don't want to let out, and some things I don't want to burden my family, especially my mom, with. So music has always been I turn to music. If I can't or don't want to talk to a person about something, I turn to music um, to help comfort me, to help get me through my thoughts, think things through, and just to help me through any situation that I might come across. So I understand exactly what you're saying, Dave. We're on the I see ya. We're on the same page. We're on the same wavelength. All right, let's see if we've got oh, they keep going. They're never ending. But thank you guys for hanging in there with me. I appreciate you. Anybody who's watching on replay, this might be it turned into another 3 hour, or we just hit the 2 hour mark. So anybody watching replay, you can watch it in chunks if you don't want to sit down and watch the whole 2 or 3 hours, however long it turns into. So let me get this one loading. So this is a 37-year-old case. Teresa Lee Scalf. So after 37 years, the cold case of a Florida nurse, Teresa Lee Scalf, is finally solved. After nearly 4 decades, blood found at the scene has helped investigators positively identify Teresa Lee Scalf's offender. So the details. On October 27th, 1986, Teresa Lee Scalf, or Scalf, I'm going to say Scalf, that makes more sense, like calf, was a victim of a SA-motivated attack that ended in her homicide. When she didn't show up at the hospital for work, her mother broke into her Lakeland, Florida home with a credit card and unfortunately found 29-year-old Teresa's body. Just cannot imagine a mother finding her child deceased. Anytime I read anything like it, it's unfortunate or horrible when anybody finds anybody else deceased, but when it is a mother finding their daughter deceased, I just cannot imagine. Betty Scaff, who is her mother, says, I think she was killed around 3:30 in the afternoon, and by the time I got there at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, all the evidence had been washed away by the rain. So that leads me to believe that the body was found outside. Because it said the mother got into her home with a credit card and found Teresa's body. But she says, now, please, somebody correct me if I'm reading this wrong. Says, I think her life was taken around 3:30 in the afternoon. And by the time I got there at 8 or 9 that night, all the evidence had been washed away by the rain. So maybe she went through the house, maybe to the back, and she found her outside. Maybe it'll give some more details if I keep reading. So that's why I'm keeping this trigger warning adult content up here. So just be warned. Teresa's neck had been severely cut, nearly once again to the point of decap. That's going to be my word for I'm just going to say decap. I'm not saying decaf, decap. Because I don't know if, I hate that using that phrase anyway, but maybe, I don't know if the tube of the U's will flag me for saying the whole word. So I'll just say decap. And she did have defensive wounds on her hands from apparently trying to fight off her attacker. According to the Polk County Sheriff's Office, the offender who brutally took the life of Teresa has finally been identified as Donald Douglas. Once again, we have a neighbor. He was Teresa's 33-year-old neighbor who lived directly behind her at the time of the attack. However, once again, he won't face charges since he is deceased of natural causes at 54. He passed away in 2008. Investigators on the scene in 1986 collected evidence that included blood that did not belong to Teresa. It was entered into CODIS, a database for the, we know what CODIS is. The blood was also preserved as evidence. Challenges to the initial investigators included the fact that Douglas didn't have a criminal history, so he was not in the system. Also, he was cremated when he passed away, and his DNA had never been gathered and put into a database for comparisons. So, despite an extensive initial investigation, the case went cold for over 3.5 decades. Then, in 2022, the sheriff's office partnered with Othram Inc., a private lab that specializes in forensic genetic genealogy, to analyze the blood sample. With the blood evidence from the crime scene, Othram was able to narrow the investigation to distant relatives of the not yet known suspect. The investigation finally led to the Douglas family, and Douglas's son gave a blood sample that was used to positively identify Douglas as the offender. Teresa's family takes comfort in the identification of her offender. And Teresa's mother, Betty, said, quote, "All I want to say is I'm 84 years old. I lived to see this done. I think that's why I lived so long." Absolutely. God bless. God bless Miss Betty, the mother, 84 years old. USA Today reported that Teresa's sister, Pam Shade, shared, quote, "I hope it gives everybody comfort to know that we now know who did this. We also would like to offer encouragement to other homicide victims. Don't give up. Law enforcement does not give up, and as long as that they don't give up, you don't give up." Absolutely, you can never give up. Always hold out some hope. Hope will keep you going. If nothing else, hope and faith will keep you going. Thank you, Michigan Wifey. Michigan Wifey says she's tapping out. I got you, sister. You're fine. She says she'll catch the rest later tonight. Thank you, Michigan Wifey. You have a good rest of your day, rest of your night. Thank you for popping in, my dear, my OG, one of my OGs. Thank you, Michigan Wifey. Always glad to have you here. Thank you so much for your continued support. Thank you to everyone who has supported me from the beginning, continues to support me, and hopefully will continue to support me in the future. And to anybody, new who comes in. And, it doesn't, when I say support, I don't mean monetarily, although I do have, at the end, I'll do my shameless plugging spiel, but it doesn't cost anything to subscribe, to hit the like button for any videos or live streams, share, comment. Just takes a little bit of your time. That helps just as well to help the YouTube algorithm push out these videos and live streams, especially on smaller channels like mine, to help get this information out to as many people as possible. So thank you to everyone for everything that you do. It is most definitely greatly appreciated. So we at the end yet? Oh, I think this may be the last one. And this is another one that I had bookmarked to do a whole video about, but I just never got around to it. Other things kept popping up, so I'm glad this one popped up in this article. So while I am getting the page to load. This is an absolutely horrific, another case involving children, horrific, which I believe involves parents or caregivers. So former couple arrested almost 35 years after 5-year-old girl's body is found encased in concrete. The baby, it says, quote, "The baby that was thrown out into a trash pile has been identified, and we're working to bring justice to her," an official says. So we'll see if the page is going to load. Hold on. I may have to start all over again. Hang in there with me. in all seriousness, I appreciate you guys being here and everybody watching replay. Before you leave the live, please hit that like button. If you're watching on replay, please hit the like button before you leave. Okay, came up. So the information. This beautiful young child was originally known as Baby Jane Doe. So a woman and her former boyfriend were arrested nearly 35 years after the grisly discovery of a child encased in concrete and left in a wooded area in southeast Georgia, officials recently announced. The child, who investigators called Baby Jane Doe, was found on December 21st, 1988, amid trash dumped in Millwood. WOWT station reported. According to the station, the girl's blanket-wrapped body was in a duffel bag in concrete poured into a television cabinet. At the time, investigators believed the victim could have been from Albany, a town located around 2 hours from the dump site, because of a local newspaper that was found with the remains. In 2019, DNA and genealogy databases helped confirm the child had relatives in the Albany area. But a tip from a woman in January 2023 helped police finally give the girl a name. The tipster, quote, knew that there had been a child who had gone missing and that her mother said that the child had gone to live with the father. Georgia Bureau of Investigation agent Jason Sechrist said at a recent news conference covered by the New York Times, and according to him, that this person never really believed that story. As a result, investigators identified the child as Kenyatta Kiki Odom. And as you see there, the picture on the left was a drawing sketch made after they found the body. And then on the right is sweet little Kenyatta. On November 9th, police arrested her mother, Evelyn Odom, also known as Zemeka Luciana, and the mother's boyfriend at the time, Ulster Sanders, according to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. Odom, 56, and Sanders, 61, each faced multiple charges in Dougherty County, including felony M, aggravated battery, first-degree cruelty to children, and concealing a death. An indictment obtained by First Coast News shows police believe, once again, I have the banner up, but once again, trigger warning. Police believe that parts of Kenyatta's body were burned in hot water prior to her death. I know if Dave is still here, I don't know if he is not going to be liking this, as none of us do. But I know his feelings about, he's made his feelings abundantly clear about adults who hurt children, and I agree with him 100%. Law enforcement officials have not disclosed a possible motive in the case. There is no, even if we knew a motive, it would not make a difference. They're still monsters, in my opinion. Anybody who hurts a child is special place in hell. Baby Jane Doe is no longer unnamed, is no longer unknown, Sechrist said. The baby that was thrown out into a trash pile has been identified, and we're working to bring justice to her. So kudos to law enforcement, everybody who worked on that case to identify Baby Jane Doe, little Kenyatta Kiki Odom. So God bless them. All right. Let's see what we got going on. Oh, I think this is really our last one. Let me see. Yeah, this is our last one. Okay, so we'll get through it quickly. This will be 2.5 hours. not bad for one of my live streams. So an 80-year-old woman. Let me get the story loading, so we won't be here for another hour waiting for the story to load. So in this case, an 80-year-old woman has been charged. 80-year-old woman charged in a 1985 cold case homicide of romantic rival. A love triangle resulted in the tragic homicide of Yvonne Minky nearly 4 decades ago. The alleged offender, now 80, has finally been arrested for using a firearm 3 times in the head and the neck. Horrible. All right, come on, computer, just hang with me. I need you to load one more story and we'll be done. Okay, here it is. All right, so let's see what this is all about. So after nearly 4 decades, police and deputies in Arizona's Maricopa County arrested 80-year-old Mary Josephine Bailey for allegedly taking the life of her romantic rival. She was arrested at her Apache Junction home and charged with first-degree homicide. On the morning of December 12th, 1985, Yvonne Minky passed away after being GSW'd 3 times in the head and neck as she prepared to leave for work at around 6:25 a.m. Her daughter called police after hearing what she called a whip-like noise that she assumed were shots, and seeing someone walk, then run from the apartment building, according to WQOW. She observed that the person fleeing the scene had on a gray dress coat, stocking cap, and a scarf. Minky Yvonne's body was found in the stairwell going from the apartment to the street in St. Croix Falls, Wisconsin. Boot prints were found in the snow leading away from the crime scene, and investigators deduced that the offender likely left in a vehicle. Evidence was preserved and casts were made of the boot prints. A criminal complaint filed in the case revealed that the boot print was matched to a pair of boots that were later seized from Bailey's home. When police talked to Minky's daughter, she said that she fears something like this would happen. Someone had recently called that week asking for Yvonne and inquiring about what time she left for work in the morning. That would definitely be suspicious. If I know somebody called me that I had no idea was, and said, hey, what time do you leave for work? I'm not telling them nothing. Before her daughter could reply, the caller hung up, so they didn't give that information. Bailey had allegedly been calling the house and making threatening phone calls. The Star Tribune reported that multiple witnesses told police that Yvonne and Bailey, the offender, had been dating the same man, Jack Owen, who ultimately married someone else and moved to Montana. So all this madness, craziness was over nothing, because he apparently dumped both of these ladies, where he passed away in 2021. He was described by one of Yvonne's daughters as having a roving eye at the time of Yvonne's death. Yvonne's autopsy revealed that she passed away of blood loss after a GSW 3 time with a .22 caliber weapon while she was walking down the staircase of her apartment building. She had GSW 1 on the left side of her neck and 2 in the back of the head. Behind her right ear. The manner was ruled a homicide. According to the Pioneer Press, Bailey was initially considered to be a suspect. Early on in the investigation, she was first interviewed at the bank where she worked shortly after the homicide, but she told police that she had stopped dating Jack Owen 3 years earlier. She did admit to having a handgun that matched the weapon. but had given it away to be sold. A witness said that Bailey had gotten upset when she wasn't invited to Owen's, the gentleman in question's, birthday party the night before Yvonne's homicide. The witness also shared that Bailey was knowledgeable about firearms, and WQOW shared that Bailey had called Yvonne before to try to convince her to give up Owen. So they were going back and forth about who was going to get the man. When Owen was interviewed, he had an alibi for the time of the crime. He said he had seen the victim the night before at his birthday party, and he admitted that he had been dating both women for several years. All over a man. Although the case went cold, the police continued to work on it through the nearly 38 years since the crime occurred. In 2009, a police re-interviewed some witnesses. Then in 2021, investigators took a fresh look at the case and went over evidence and re-interviewed witnesses who then shared new evidence in the case. At this time, police learned that Bailey had been emotionally upset at the time of the crime and that she had asked a friend to burn some clothes for her. So as of 2023, when this article was done, CBS News shared that this is an ongoing investigation, and anyone with information about Yvonne's murder or homicide can contact the sheriff's office at 715-485-8300. All right, guys, I think we made it through all of them. I think that was our last one because my slides won't advance anymore. I think that was the last one. So, Dave is once again driving and listening. Thank you, Dave. Be careful out there driving. I always tell you that. I mean that sincerely. All right, guys, that was the last one. Thank you so much for everybody that was here. Dave, our resident Alan the Proud, Dandy, Michigan Wifey, Shauna popped in earlier. Just want to make sure I don't miss anybody while I'm getting my outro and all that good stuff ready. Although I think I can do it from here. Dandy, Michigan Wifey, Dave. I almost called you George. Last night I think I tried to call Dave Dale. So I'm just going to start calling you whatever comes to mind. Dave, I'm repeating myself. Just want to make sure. James Jameson popped in. Thank you, James. Fritzy Garage was here from Poland. So I don't want to miss anybody. Michigan Wifey, Shauna. All right. Thank you everybody for being here. Take that down. Thank you everybody for being here. I appreciate it. I'll do my shameless plugging before I get out of here. If you found this live stream video or any of my videos or live streams interesting or informative, please consider subscribing, like, share, comment. You guys know the drill. It helps small channels like mine be pushed out to more people. So this information that I share, the missing persons and cold cases that aren't solved, the most important thing that I do on my channel, reaches as many people as possible. You can find me on the Facebook group and a page. You can find all these links to all this stuff that I'm mentioning in the About section. And I think I have put it, or I will put it in the description box. If you have any questions, once again, if you have any questions, comments, or a case that you would like me to feature, email me. If you would like to help support the channel and the search for the missing, I do have a Buy Me a Coffee account, a PayPal Me account, Southern Gal True Crime merchandise. So if you'd like to make a donation, very much appreciated to help support the channel and the search for the missing. All right, I think that is all my shameless plugging. I'll put that back up there. So today is Sunday. I will try to get a video recorded tonight for my Missing Person Monday. So I will, everybody take care of yourselves. Be careful out there. And I will try to get that Missing Person Monday video uploaded. If I don't get it recorded and uploaded tonight, I will do a live stream sometime mid to late morning for my Missing Person Monday. But I will see you very soon, guys. Thank you very much.